A law student finds out that borrowed time comes at a cost. In his grandfather's wake, a young Tim roams around as people talk about how no one knew his grandfather, Joseph, was sick. While someone offers a toast to Joseph, Tim rummages through a drawer until an antique key grabs his attention. He looks at the old wardrobe across from him, thinking it's what the key opens. Curious, he unlocks it, where he sees darkness inside. His grandmother's cat, Kitty, goes inside, so he goes with it. Before he walks further, his grandmother, Catherine, pulls him back. Worried, she closes the door and reminds him that he's not allowed to enter it since it'll be dangerous if he gets locked inside. However, Tim argues that he once saw his grandfather go in with a book, then came back out. Catherine explains that his grandfather forgot that even if one can play tricks with time, one cannot cheat it. When he looks confused, she assures him that he'll understand when he gets older. Before Tim leaves, she asks if he has seen Kitty, so Tim looks at the wardrobe, pointing out that it went inside. Knowing this, she hides her horror and lets Tim leave before checking the wardrobe. Catherine opens the doors, only to find Kitty's ashes on the floor, leaving his collar behind. This makes Catherine devastated, as she lost 2 of her family members. 10 years later, law school student Tim studies when his friend Saul invites him to smoke. However, Tim mentions that he has to study twice as hard to do half as well as his friend. Hearing this, Saul teasingly confirms he's the smart one. Saul suggests he needs to relax when suddenly, he sees Lauren and her friend Mia walking outside. He teases Tim, as he never talks to his crush, Lauren. Tim looks at the window and swoons over her. Saul suddenly gets an idea, so he tells Tim to wait. 15 minutes later, Tim receives a package and a letter from his grandmother, who gives him the antique wardrobe as an inheritance. He reads the letter, which says that he can go inside to find something, but he needs to be careful not to go in without the key. His grandmother also advises him not to be greedy, as stolen times are never free. He picks up the key and tries to open the wardrobe, but Saul returns with Lauren and Mia, interrupting him. Saul introduces Tim to Lauren and reveals he has a crush on her, which embarrasses his friend. Smiling ear to ear, Tim greets Lauren. Urging them to get to know each other, Saul hosts a party at their place. That night, Lauren asks Tim why he pursued law if he's having difficulty with it. Tim opens up that his father planned to go to law school, but he unfortunately died in a car accident. He contemplates that if he becomes a successful lawyer and a good father, he'll get to do what his father never did. Lauren teases that he already has his life planned out but compliments him for it. The next morning, Lauren wakes Tim, reminding him about his exam. Realizing that it's nearly 8 in the morning, Tim exclaims that he has got to go, though he assures Lauren that he'd love to see her again. After she leaves, Tim gets nervous that he won't pass the bar as he tries to study at the last minute. He notices his grandmother's letter and wonders if he does have time to study. With this in mind, he decides to unlock the wardrobe. He slowly enters and sits on a chair, paying attention to the key and the room. He looks at his watch and discovers that time moves faster inside the wardrobe. Moments later, he heads out and compares his watch to his desk clock, realizing that it's just been a minute outside when he spent much longer in the wardrobe. Happy, he gets his book then heads inside to study. In the classroom, Saul gets worried about Tim, as he hasn't arrived yet. The proctor hands out their questionnaires when suddenly, Tim arrives. Surprised, Saul looks at Tim, who's oddly grown a beard since this morning. Soon, Tim, Saul, Lauren, and Mia celebrate Tim and Lauren's engagement. When asked about their wedding day, Tim mentions that it'll be in November, right after they pass the bar. Upon hearing this, Saul praises Tim for his confidence. As Lauren and Mia leave to check on bridesmaid dresses, Tim reveals to Saul that he got a house a mile from Wells and Brown, a law firm where he's applying for a job. Saul's happy for him, but reminds him that the job offer is only good if he passes the bar. Tim isn't worried as he's put in all the time studying. Concerned, Saul reminds him that he has to sleep, as he is becoming unhealthy. Tim laughs it off and teases that Saul is worried about him doing better. With the wedding, the bar, and the house, Saul is concerned about how Tim can manage everything in such a short time. Tim shrugs and jokingly tells him that time is just an excuse that people use. Still, he appreciates his concern but assures him that he has it under control. Soon, Tim goes to the company for his interview, where he's revealed to be the top of his class, the editor of a law review, and has good reviews interviews in his clerkship. When asked what's his secret, Tim confidently answers that he's excellent at time management. Upon hearing this, Bob, the interviewer, praises him, but insists that the company wants to be continually impressed. Unfazed, Tim confidently states that his name will be on the company's sign soon enough. This makes Bob laugh, though he notes that it's too early for Tim to make such bold statements. In response, Tim excuses that he just doesn't like to waste time, especially the company's. One day, at his new house, Tim takes all his paperwork to the wardrobe. He enters it until he finishes working on it, then puts the paperwork back in his car's trunk, neatly organized. 4 years later, Tim's office mates throw a party for him as he's been promoted to senior associate. Bob gives a toast, mentioning that Tim has proven to them how valuable the company's time is to him. He then reveals that Tim is faster than anyone in the history of their firm. With that, he congratulates Tim, and they all raise their glasses to him. Moments later, Tim tidies himself in the bathroom and he realizes that he's already growing white hair, surprising him. Still, he shrugs it off. At home, Tim assembles their baby's crib. When he looks at the manual, he's having a hard time reading it, so Lauren advises him to see an eye doctor. Despite this, Tim refuses, unwilling to accept that he's growing older. Soon, Lauren delivers their baby, and Tim finally becomes a father. As new parents, the couple faces sleepless nights as their baby cries all night. One night, Tim closes their baby's room, not putting an effort to calm his son down first. Unable to sleep, he takes his paperwork with him inside the wardrobe to work. After a few minutes, he silently returns to bed with their baby. 5 years later, Tim plays catch with his son, Henry. While catching the ball, he misses and slips. With weakened bones, he struggles to pick the ball from the ground, so he bends awkwardly. Lauren notices this, so she jokes if Henry's wearing him out. Suddenly, Bob calls, ordering Tim to close the Halford account by Monday. Tim asks for a continuance, but Bob declines since he promised that he has time to work on it. To entice him, he offers Tim a promotion to a junior partner if he meets this deadline. Left with no choice, Tim agrees to do it. After Tim ends the call, Henry asks his father if he has to leave worriedly. Tim assures his son that he won't and plays with him, so Henry laughs. Lauren then compliments Tim, amazed how he gets work done and still has time for his family. Eventually, the office throws Tim a party after he gets promoted as a junior partner. During this, Tim meets with Saul, who compliments him on his success, saying that he deserves it. Suddenly, Tim collapses, so his colleagues get worried. After a few seconds, Tim passes out. At the doctor's office, Tim learns that he had a stroke and has hypertension. Confused, he mentions that he works out and eats well, so the doctor confirms he is in good shape for someone 10 years older than he is. She advises him to cut back on working and sleep well, as a young man shouldn't have these issues. Lauren holds Tim's hand and assures the doctor that he will follow her advice. When they arrive home, Lauren reminds Tim that he wanted to accomplish what his father didn't get to do. She assures him that he has already won because he's a successful lawyer and family man, but to keep winning, he has to take care of himself. This frustrates Tim, so he lets out a sigh. When asked if he could do it, Tim promises to. That night, Tim hides the key in a box while his family waits for him. Upstairs, he spends quality time with his wife and son, playing board games and appreciating the life he has. 3 years later, Saul shares with him that the company has a short list of candidates for promotion to senior partner, so Tim mentions it's about time. However, Saul reveals that only he and selected employees are on the list, not Tim. This surprises Tim, so Saul apologizes to him. Still, Tim mentions that his friend deserves it, so he congratulates him and leaves. That night, Lauren and Henry eat their dinner without Tim. When he arrives home late, he looks at his sleeping son sadly before heading to their bedroom. As he lays down, he grunts like an old man. Woken up, Lauren shares that Mia told her about the senior partner list. Tim says he'll talk to Bob tomorrow about it, but Lauren clarifies that she doesn't care about the promotion. Instead, she's worried about their family. She knows that the position is all about money and prestige, but what's important is the time they have together. Tired, Tim assures her that he understands. Despite this, Tim later wakes up in the middle of the night, remembering that he has work that's due on Wednesday, which could cost him his job if he doesn't meet the deadline. Left with no choice, Tim picks up the boxes of documents and recovers the key he'd hidden for years. He opens the wardrobe, places his key in his pocket, then puts his files inside. Before he goes inside, Henry finds him, so he asks his father what he's doing. Tim merely says he should be in bed, but Henry says he's thirsty. Hearing this, he tells his son to get a drink in the kitchen, and he'll meet him there soon. After Henry leaves, Tim enters the wardrobe and works on the documents. Recalling what Lauren and his grandmother mentioned about time and family, Tim gets frustrated and feels pressured. Bothered, Tim decides to go out, but when he reaches for the key, he realizes that his pocket has a hole. His key had fallen out. Desperately, he looks around for the key, but to no avail. He starts to panic and peeks through the keyhole, where he discovers that the key had fallen outside. Meanwhile, Henry returns and notices his father is gone, so he looks for him. Tim sees Henry, so he calls him for help, but the boy doesn't hear him. Despite only seconds passing by outside, Tim becomes old in the wardrobe. Soon, he could barely choke out his son's name. Finally, Henry notices the key on the floor and picks it up. He unlocks the wardrobe, where he finds his father crumbling into ashes. Unwilling to believe what he'd seen, Henry continues to search for his father inside the wardrobe, dropping the key on the floor in the process. Unable to find his father, he goes inside the wardrobe, and the door slams shut, leaving the key outside.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.